the joys of lockdown, where I've got my lovely next door neighbours, and I mean they're lovely. One of them goes to my school, who are enjoying the sunshine in their garden. So if you hear any screaming, honestly, I'm not murdering anyone. My hands are here. I'm in my room on my own. It's just some children next door having a lot of fun. So, welcome to the lesson today on parallel angles in parallel lines. Hopefully, by the end of this lesson, you'll have a better understanding of number one, the biggest problem. This is proper clickbait. Work out the biggest problem that meets all people who try and do parallel angles. But also, what the rules are, 4 rules that we're going to learn, and how Mr. Harris wants to make sure that you understand the purpose of angle questions. Because so many people think the purpose is the answer. No. The answer is kind of irrelevant, and I'll talk to you about why. So I'm just staying hydrated, otherwise Alicia will have a go at me. Other water brands are available. Let's head straight over into... I'm going to keep calling it the studio, even though I know I need to try and stop calling it the studio. Where we're going to get started on today's lesson. So we are looking at parallel angles and angles in parallel lines. A reminder, stuff you send me, stuff you send me on Facebook or on my email, I'm going to be starting to use it more. The more stuff I get, the more I'm going to start using it. I've just come over a little bit of a hump in the middle of the week, but I'm going to try and get a lot of stuff going. A few signposts as well for later in the week. We have tomorrow. We have another escape room. I'm going to try it again. We're going to try and do another escape room, see how that works. People seem to enjoy it, so if you want to be here, you have to be here on time, because it mainly works live. It's not as enjoyable to watch afterwards. You can do, but it's not as enjoyable. So be here for that tomorrow. And then on Saturday, for the whole family, we have a Dingbats quiz. It's on the Facebook group, but I'm going to put a link out to everyone and let everyone know about it. It's for everyone to take part. It's a family quiz. Your whole family work on it together, and there'll be some live elements, but there'll also be a quiz that you can take part in, and we'll try and make it as interesting as fun as possible. So that's coming up on Saturday. So first, spot the difference starter. You've got to find, I think there are 10 differences in these pictures. They are tough to spot. Do your best. I'll leave you spotting the difference while I say some hellos. So, good morning to Eddie and Amber and Alicia and Vika and West Creative. I forget your name, West Creative. I do apologise. Harry Sharp, good morning. And good morning to Rashan. Welcome back. And good morning, Ellis. Hello again. Well done to all those people. So, Eddie, I'm not sure whether your comment is that you can see that there are cars, or it's more to do with the picture I had, but words in the left corner. Yeah. That is very, very clever, Harry, but it is not supposed to be. The words are just from the puzzle, it's not part of the picture. But very clever. I will allow it. The watermark, Alicia. Are you going for the words as well? Am I stupid here? What do you mean by the watermark? I'm trying to spot it myself. They're quite subtle differences. What I'm going to suggest, I'm not going to give you the answers to this. You may get determined. I will give you one answer to prove that I'm not just making you look at a picture that is identical. Feel free to go back at the end of this video, pause it here, and put the links in the comments rather than the live chat. If you spot any differences, write them down in the comments below the video. That's my challenge to you. I'm going to point out to you. The bird that is above the white mountain is facing the other way. It's in the same place, but it is flying in the opposite direction. So you can see that there are different... the differences are subtle. You just have to be quite specific in what you're saying the differences are. So, I'll leave that with you. I've said my hellos. So today we're going to be talking about angles in parallel lines, and it's quite important to get my philosophy about angles across to you. When you think about angles, I always try and thinking of it in terms of, imagine you're trying to persuade your parents to let you do something, or your carer, or whoever looks after you. You're trying to persuade them to let you do something. You say to them, let's imagine we're out of lockdown. I'd like to go to this event on Saturday, and they turn around to you and say no, and that's all they say, and they stick with the word no, and they just stop there. Not only might that be frustrating to you, it's not an answer that can make sense or leave you feeling that you understand the situation. Then imagine if the answer was, I know that sounds really interesting, but actually I've got you surprise tickets to go and see a concert, or to go and do something that you've always wanted to do on Saturday. It was a bit of a surprise, but the reason we can't go is because that's what we're doing instead. Suddenly the whole perspective of the situation changes. You understand why that thing is the case. Why am I mentioning it now? Well, when we're dealing with angle problems, the point of the exercise is not to say what the angle is. It's more why and what rule leads us there. If you were to be trained to become a detective, and it's something I wanted to do when I was growing up, if I hadn't been a teacher, or I hadn't gone down into board game design, I might have looked into becoming a detective. I'm just not really mad keen on blood. We've got to be a bit more of a detective. Detectives, you can't just say, he did it, she did it. The answer is irrelevant, really, unless you've got proof. You need to be able to justify why that's your answer and explain why you're saying that. What I'm going to need to do is probably head over to the whiteboard so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Because there, I've set it up so it looks a bit like this. We have various different lines. We should be able to hopefully remember our angle rules from year 6 and year 5, which was angles in a triangle make 180, angles in a straight line make 180, angles in a quadrilateral make 360, and angles around a point make 360. We now have 4 new rules. 3 of them apply to parallel lines. Now we know they're parallel if and only if we have little arrows on them. These ones look parallel, but they're not parallel yet. Soon as we add these, we know that they're parallel. That means they never meet. Even if they look parallel, you need the little arrows on them to show that they're parallel lines. Now, for each of these, I'm going to put a new line going through the middle. Now, this could have gone the other direction. That's still fine. But it allows me to explain what the rules are. Once we know the rules, we will be able to apply them. I'm going to move this little arrow. I feel like it's in the way. So I've moved it down here. So what we're saying here is, these are going to be the rules, but what we're more focused on is the why. It turns out this angle here is exactly the same as this angle here. When you look at it, you may just spot that they're the same, but we call these alternate angles. I'm now going to try and colour this in, just shade it in so it looks pretty. And we call them alternate angles. So it was on the right, it's now on the left. It's on the alternate side. It's alternating, right and then left, right and then left. They are the same as each other. And we can always draw, and I'm hoping this highlighter works quite well, a Z over the top of the lines that they are inside of, because sometimes these are called Z angles. Now, I always get people to ask me, why do your Zs in maths have a line down the middle? It's because when I write 2s, they look like that. When I write Zs, they look like that. Hopefully you agree, they look quite similar. So I learnt that in maths, I write a Z like that. It's not how I would write a Z if I was writing zebra. I'd write that, just like most of you. But if I'm talking about Z in a mathematical context, I normally put a line in the middle to show that it's not 2. I do a similar thing with X's. Because that's times, my X's are always curly like that. It's not because I'm just trying to be odd, It's just to try and make it clear what the number is that or the letter is that I'm referring to. The second rule is if I have the same angle but in a new place. This angle is the bottom right of this circle. You've got bottom left, top right, and bottom right. That means the bottom right must also be the same because it's in the same space. Let me show you what I mean. If we zoom in here, we have just a cross like that. If we zoom in here, we have just a cross. The one that's in the same space, so that one, is going to be the same as the same one, this side. Bottom right is going to be the same as the bottom right. We call these corresponding. Corresponding means matching, effectively. The angle that matches the same space as before. Okay? So we've got alternate is on the other side. Corresponding is these two are in the same location as each other. They correspond to each other. These are sometimes called F-angles, not fangles, which is what this looks like if I write it too close together. Now, in order to show you why they call them fangles, I'm going to get rid of these the zooming in loops. Hope you can still remember why they're there. I recommend you make nice notes about this. If I draw this line up there, and then the two lines of the F, the underneath bits of the F are the same angle. That F could be upside down or other ways. Now, I'm going to use this later on to try and help us talk through some questions. But the F doesn't have to be the right way round for an F. The same as this Z is the wrong way round. But I've done it, it's still a Z shape. Normally a Z would be this way round. But it doesn't matter, as long as it's a Z shape, we can accept it either way round. Finally, I'm going to use my purple for the ones on the inside together. And these two together are different because that one we already know is the same as that one from alternate, and we already know it's the same as that one. Because I spoke to you earlier about the angles in a straight line are 180, these two must add to 180. This one and this one must make 180. Sorry, I don't know if you see when I say this one. So let me just... This angle and this angle must make 180 degrees added together. So we can say that these make 180 degrees and they have a name. Co, as in coordinate, cooperate, co-op, means together on the inside, interior. Co-interior, together on the inside. Bit like me and my wife. We're together on the inside of the house. Lots of families are at the moment. They are all co-interior. We can call this the C rule because it makes a C. But we have to remember that this adds to 180. They're not the same. Alternate and corresponding are the same, and the co-interior C rule is different. Now you'll notice that this final rule I'm going to explain to you is the X rule. Hopefully you can all see why. It's got nothing to do with the fact that I've got a Wolverine t-shirt on and he's an X-Man. It's also known as opposite angles. This has got nothing to do with parallel lines, except for the fact that they exist at the parallel lines. There are some opposite ones. Basically it says that if two angles meet like this, the opposite angles are the same. The ones opposite each other. So these are the four rules that before we can continue, we have to understand these rules. We have to understand what's going on. Now I'm about to teach this in a very different way. Sorry if I'm glitching, Eddie. So I don't know why I just drawn on the screen. We have to be able to use these rules, but I'm going to teach it in a way that's not just a case of here's some questions, what's the angle? To me, that doesn't make sense. It's also not the purpose. I'm going to teach it like this. Here's some angles. It would have been nice. In fact, I'm going to do a little bit of cleverness here. Angles in parallel lines. I'm going to duplicate that page. If I copy it and put it to there. I've got another copy. The reason I've just done that is I can now get everything back, and we can have our parallel angle, have our parallel lines back, which are useful. Hadn't realised how much writing I'd done on here. Doobie doobie doo. Bear with me, I'm being as quick as I can. A good way of doing this is to highlight, draw around the things I want to delete. And I'm going to get rid of that. This wasn't as quick as I thought it was it? I think I'm actually going to go back to this page and just draw some parallel lines. It would have been quicker in the first place. Forgive me. So, I am going to, instead of doing the traditional teacher thing of saying, this is an angle, what's this one? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, that's 67, so's that. Why? Why are they both 67? Different way of doing a question. You can't say, 67 is the answer, sir, because there's no answer. Because I've given you the fact that they're both 67, and I'm saying to you, why? Why are they 67? Then we can focus fully on the rules section, because what you're expected to do when you answer this question is do a bullet point and identify. Now, I've seen if I do this and this and this, they make a Z angle. So the Z tells me that they are alternate angles are equal. Notice how doing the questions this way round first of all focuses us on the fact that we have to give a sentence for our answer, not a number. The number is not the main thing. The main thing is the sentence that is telling you why. I'll do a harder one. Here we have a triangle. And another line going up here, and they are the parallel ones. And we have that angle is there, is 42. This angle here is 53. And the question remains, what is this angle here? And what is this angle here? And what is this angle here? Now, in order to not have 3 question marks, normally you won't get asked that. You'll be normally given some letters. For example, J, K, and L. So we would need to do every one separately. But remember what I said. The first one we're going to do, J, we need a value and a bullet point. I am not going to tolerate, and I say I'm not going to tolerate, I can't stop you doing it. You're watching the video in your own time. I can't stand over and go, I'm not going to tolerate. No, I'm going to come around every single person's house and make sure that they did this. Even though it's lockdown. After the lockdown's finished, I'll visit every single person's house and make sure that they're doing this properly. I'm only joking. The first thing we are wanting to do is use the rules we've been doing. Well, this looks to me like a Z. And the insides of the Z are 42 and K. That tells me immediately K is 42, but it's still wrong. Unless I write Z, alternate angles. If I don't write the phrase, it's wrong. The next thing I'm going to do, now this is why the multiple questions are tougher. I actually got rid of the highlighter and I'm going to change to a different colour. So I'm using my yellow highlighter now. What I can also see is here is an F shape using the, remember you've got to use the parallel lines for the F, for the bits of the F and the bottom of the Z. Mr. Harris, that was a terrible mistake. You have to use the parallel bits for the F. I've got an F thing and the 53 must be the same as the L. So I'm going to do the F bit, we're going to do that in pink. The L must be 53, and the reason is the F is corresponding. Remember the words we've taught you, alternate and corresponding angles. Finally, I've got to find out this last one, and there's two ways to do it, and there's neither one is correct. You choose as a detective which method you want to use. There are multiple ways to the same solution. This is why I say to you the number is not important, it's the journey. Because if you happen to turn around and say to me, sir, it's 85, and you might use a green, I'd say, yeah, you're right. Why? I'm always going to follow that up with why. If you don't tell me why, you're wrong. Even if you're right, you're wrong. I know I've been going on about that, but that is true. Even if you're right, you're wrong. J must be 85 because either angles in a triangle, let me get rid of the highlighter so you can see the two ways I can do this. No, I don't want to get rid of the whole of that. No, this is more difficult than I imagined. We're going to change to a different highlighter. We're going to go to the orange. I've got a single straight line. All three are added together. So therefore I can do my calculation of 180 minus 42. So we need to do 42 add 53 is 95. Which gives us 85. That's why. So we would write angles in a straight line. But you are wrong if you don't put angles in a straight line unless you put a different reason, which is absolutely fine. You are allowed to put a different reason, and the different reason could be I've also got, just to try and use a different highlighter as well, I could have used angles in a triangle are 180. I didn't have to do straight line. I could have done angles in a triangle. So either of those methods would have been correct, angles in a triangle. Now, if I glance at the live chat, I can see lots of people saying answers. So Andrew Lee has a brilliant contribution. L equals 53, J equals 85. He's got things. However, you will notice Harry Sharp, just above him, has got a better answer because Harry has put 85 for J because all the angles in the triangle must add up to 180. If you don't give your reason, your answer isn't correct. If you do just say the numbers, your answer isn't correct. So I'm sorry, Andrew. Excellent calculations, but my key point to you is that you're trying to learn here that you, as a detective, if you just say, he's guilty, what evidence do you have? Feels like it. It doesn't count for anything. I would like you to walk away from this lesson, if you've learned nothing else, that when we deal with angles, the bullet point bit is just as important as the number. We shouldn't be putting things into the live chat until we're putting the number and the reason. I know I sound like an old fuddy-duddy or a miserable person. Sorry, just Alicia break. But it's true. This is the most important bit. The reason, the explanation, why. And that's why, if you were in this classroom with me and I was interacting with you live, and you said to me, sir, the answer's 4, and my answer would not be yes or no, it would be why. And you'd be like, it in my head. And you're like, sorry. And then you'd say, sir, may I go to the toilet? And I'm like, no. And you say, why? I said, did it in my head. I wouldn't stop you going to the toilet. But you can understand what I'm saying. You've got to have the understanding, the explanation to what you're saying. Let's head back into the studio. It's definitely a studio. Anyone who says it's not a studio, you're lying. We have 7 questions, conundrums if you will. And I'm going to do the first one with you, but I'm not going to do the rest. You are able to pause this video if you're coming at it live, or you can try them live, but this is more for you to come back to after the live stream finishes. Or if you access the lesson later, pause the video here and try and draw these out and work out all the letters. Then choose one of your answers, go to the comments below the video and state, just like Andrew and Harry were in the live chat, state what your answer for that thing is, not in the live chat now, but in the comments below the video. Just choose one. Now, I know how difficult this is because there's 2 S's and 2 U's. You'll have to say the first S or the second S, and we can call the second U Bono because I'm terrible at jokes. That's you too. We find the letters. I'm going to do the first one together with us because it's only fair. So I'm going to head back to my whiteboard for one little more journey. Da-da! You always, when you copy-paste, life is so much better when you're copy-pasting on your computer if you go da-da when you do it. So it feels like it's magic every single time. So the first thing I have spotted, because I'm spotting things, is that looks to me like a Z. So the first thing I'm going to do is say A equals 60 because, if you don't put because, it's wrong, alternate angles are equal. Remember, if I hadn't written that second bit, I would be wrong. Here's my bullet point. Then I want to. I might even be able to do the same. Do this on the same grid. I have got here. Oh, I've got here a straight line. So I'm going to say here, B. I hope there's an orange. B equals 180 minus 65. Which is 115 if I'm doing my maths correctly. Oh, Mr. Harris, you're not putting degree symbols. You're going to get shouted at by the degrees officer. They'll take your degree away from you. So the next bit is angles in a straight line. And then finally, I have got, just to prove that it does get used, pink highlighter. This is a C shape in reverse. And so we can do C shape in reverse. C must equal 65 because co-interior angles make 180. Now notice, you could have used a different approach for this one. For C, you could have done another Z. Just to demonstrate, I am aware there are multiple ways to do the same question. We could have done a backward Z there for 65 being the same as C. Whatever approach you use is fine as long as your bullet point represents that. That should make sense why I've done these questions. So when you're ready, feel free to go to the comments after the video, choose one. Be nice to each other. I mean, there's 29 people in the thing now. I think 74 people are watching. Maybe some people have paused. Maybe some people have run away from Mr. Harris's weirdness. But feel free to do one of these. But if you try and do them all, feel free to do them all. But if you try and comment them all, what that does is it means that other people can't. And I like my students to be empathetic, considerate of the feelings of others and the abilities of others, and trying to help others. So here's some questions for you to go away and practice after the video is done. So your challenge is those questions that I've just given you. I have put in the description below. If you click on show more, the angles in parallel lines Corbett Maths. But also don't forget, go to Corbett Maths, click and Google Corbett Maths 5 a day. This is an excellent way of keeping your maths hot over the course of the holiday. I call them holidays, they're not holidays, the lockdown period. Corbett Maths 5 a day. They have answers on there. Brilliant way of keeping in touch. And then also the Taskmaster's still going. I'm still waiting to see your Where's Wally Pit scenes. Absolute scenes. So, that's all for today. You'll notice there's a little bit of a theme. There are little babies appearing in my saying goodbye. I'm trying to gradually build myself up to the fact that in the next week or so, I'm going to be a dad. Therefore, I'm trying to gear myself up to quite how lovely and clean and tidy they all are. With that in mind, tomorrow is supposed to be the escape room and Friday game NIM, and there'll be some other lessons. On any given day now, my wife could go into labour and have to go and give birth. If that happens, it may be difficult for me to do the lesson. Please assume I will stick to the timetable until where possible. But if you ever come here and there's no lesson appearing, do check the Facebook group, because it could be that I have put a note quickly saying, sorry, had to go to hospital. And then we'll have some pictures for you all in future lessons. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I hope you've learned something about parallel lines and angles today. I hope you're going to go away and have a go at all those questions. You've all been awesome. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for keeping me company in the lockdown. And Mr. Harris is out.